Hello, ASM attendees. My name is Mary Linneberry. I'm a PhD candidate here in Colorado State University in the lab of Melinda Smith. Today, I'm going to be talking with y'all about our long-term nitrogen addition project. I don't need to tell you, but of course, in all of human history, we've never seen this much reactive nitrogen in our natural ecosystems. So it's important to have these long-term nitrogen projects. And so we can understand what's happening currently in our systems and what's going to happen in the future. Our project is called the Chronic Addition of Nitrogen Gradient Experiment, or ChANGE. And it's called a gradient experiment for two different reasons. First, our two sites occur across a broad precipitation gradient. The first, CPER, or the Central Plains Experimental Range, is an XLTER site in northeastern Colorado, which is a semi-arid shortgrass steppe. And then across the rain shadow to the east, we have ChANGE, abbreviated here as KNZ, which is a mesic tallgrass prairie in Kansas. And second, our nitrogen addition treatments resemble a gradient of nitrogen. And what's great about this approach is that when you combine these two gradients, it really allows us to tease out any possible mechanisms of change and the varying influence of environmental context for our results, which let's take a look at now. With these long-term nitrogen addition studies, it's very common to see species loss, likely due to changes in competition dynamics. And we do see that here, but it's a pretty small effect, relatively speaking. However, at our semi-arid shortgrass steppe site, we do see a much stronger effect of nitrogen on species loss when we look at the interaction between year and nitrogen. And I want to remind folks that year is commonly used as an analog for mean annual precipitation that changes from year to year. And I'll note now that when you see little blue boxes around the years in my graph, that's denoting a year with higher than average precipitation. Keep that in mind when we talk about production. We were able to see a pretty strong influence of nitrogen on production. And that became all the more obvious when we were either experiencing a wet year or just in general, this is more obvious at our wet mesic tallgrass prairie site. And so these results and some others that I'm not presenting here really drive home the fact that moisture is incredibly important in controlling the response of these communities to nitrogen addition, which makes sense because the plant growth itself is co-limited by nitrogen and water. And of course, as the climate continues to change, it's going to be very important to study how these two factors overlap, which that is my dissertation research. So if you're interested in that, I'd be happy to chat about it. But until then, if y'all see me around, I'm happy to answer any questions and enjoy the conference.